Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Welcome to Growth Groove with Dr. Ericka because you know what? It is Tuesday and you know that means Growth Groove night. So I'm so excited to be here tonight. We are in June, and as you probably know, June is Pride Month. So I wanted to make sure that we spent a little quality time on the Pride because just as for Black History Month and Women's History Month, it's like, well, this is part of our history, so it's not shouldn't be relegated to just one month. But I want to make sure that we call attention to some things that be helpful because at the end of the day, we all have to help support each other and uplift each other's communities. So, with that, let me get to it. So, I am your host, Dr. Erica, Harvard trained double board certified psychiatrist and integrative lifestyle coach. I'm so passionate about helping people be better, do better so they can ultimately live better. I do that through my telepsychiatry, my books, my speaking, and my new podcast, Better with Dr. Erica. I do all of this to help put you back in your life so you can claim that life that you were created for. So, quick couple of housekeeping tips. The first thing is if you know someone that needs this or could benefit from this, please tag them. The next is you can also share. Sharing is caring. The last thing is if you're watching it later, I'm just happy you came. Just drop hashtag replay in the comments. As you come in, let me know where you are watching this from. So I'm going to hop into it because I don't want to keep you here all night. And I decided I'd take a little outdoor situation. So I'm sweating while I do quality time with you, but I needed some fresh air. And one of the things I always love talking to you about is listening to your body, listening to your spirit, and letting it guide you. And mine said, Dr. Erica, you need some fresh air. So I am out here sweating in this Atlanta heat while we do this. So you might be like, why are we talking about pronouns? Well, number one, it's Pride Month. So it's time to become, I can't talk, to bring awareness to LGBTQIA communities. And recently, during Pride Month, as you all know, I like spending time on my Peloton. I haven't been on it as much as I probably should recently, but I'm working on getting back in the flow of being on my Peloton so that my clothes don't all become tight. And I was on the Sam Smith ride, and one of the things I noticed was the pronouns that Kendall was using. She was using they, their, and them for Sam Smith. And I realized I actually wasn't, I hadn't I hadn't been reading a lot of stuff. And I've been busy with this podcast and all these businesses. And I hadn't realized when they had come out and said that that was the pronouns that they used. But I noticed it during the ride. I was like, oh, okay, and then I saw some posts where they were talking about it. And it just reminded me of all the conversations that I've even had in treatment team in hospitals around pronouns, especially because like I'm Generation X. So I'm young enough to still be youthful, but old enough to remember all of the old school. And growing up, there there weren't conversations about pronouns because the assumption was either you were a girl or you were a boy. It was, in retrospect, and even currently, the culture tends to be pretty heteronormative. So growing up, you didn't really think about it. That's just kind of how it was. And I remember as I got further in my practice and there started to be more conversation about gender identity and pronouns, I remember sitting in treatment team in a hospital and the staff struggling to manage pronouns. And this was, it would happen in cases where people like they, them, and their, or or cases where someone identified as transgender and used the other gender's pronouns, and how much of a struggle it was for the team to manage these pronouns, and how you'd always have a few people that just literally felt like they weren't going to try. They're just like, I'm too old for this, or why are we even doing this? And then you had the people that tried, and then the people that were really good at it. And one of the things I noticed were some of the team members that were really good with it, and Kendall did an excellent job with it too, is that I realized it's something that seems to come a little more natural to younger people. That can be for a few reasons. One is that there's been a conversation around pronouns and it hasn't become totally ingrained in them and normative that the only pronouns to use are female pronouns and male pronouns with people that were born and determined to just stick with whatever gender they were born with. So I find that younger people have an easier time managing through these pronouns. And was sitting through that ride and just kind of reflecting on some of the conversations I've had with different teams, I wanted to take a quick moment to do this because one of the reasons I wanted to do this, and as you come in, let me know where you are, what's going on in your world. But we'll start with where are you? Is that I didn't grow up learning different pronouns other than the traditional she, her, hers, he, him, his. That was what I learned. You learned they, their, and them, but, or they, their, and theirs. And that was originally when I grew up, that was just plural pronouns. And realizing as we go through this journey, and just as I am a Black woman, so I want people to be allies for Black people and for women, is that it's a spirit of reciprocity, is that we have to be allies to each other. So to be allies to each other and also good humans and compassionate and empathic and respectful, we have to learn how to navigate the wonderful world of pronouns, no matter how natural, uncomfortable, or unnatural it feels to you. I'm not going to put a value statement on what managing these pronouns feel like, because there are people that actually are well-intentioned that it still feels challenging, and it's not because they don't want to use those pronouns, but it's just as a challenge because that's just not how they grew up. So let's get into the topic, which is it's Pride Month. 5 things to remember about pronouns. You ready? Let's do it. Let's hit it. First thing to remember is it's not even about you. It's not about your comfort with someone's pronouns, your judgment on their pronouns, what gender you think they are, what gender you think they should be, what gender you felt like they were yesterday, what they saying today. It has nothing to do with you. It's not about you and your feelings. It's about other people and what makes them feel respected, cared for, and seen. Just as with any of us, we ideally want our names to be pronounced correctly because our names mean something. Is to remember that pronouns matter. They mean something. They are tied for a lot of people who are don't fall in with gender norms. Is that this is a part of someone's identity. This is a part of how they see themselves. This is how they want to be seen. So it's important. It doesn't matter if you personally value it or not. But it matters because it matters to people. And it's a sign of respect and understanding and empathy. And for people that may not use the pronouns that may be, for a lot of people, intuitive, is that when we use other pronouns towards them, it feels that we don't see them, or we may not understand their identity, or we may not respect their identity. So remember, pronouns matter. The next thing is you'll never get it if you don't try. A lot of us, and I know a lot of people that watch my Facebook Lives and my YouTube, we're not spring chickens. We may look youthful. You don't see a bunch of wrinkles here. But we're not from the generation that moved through all these pronouns and had all these conversations about non-binary, transgender. We just didn't have these conversations weren't going on a long time ago. So the thing to remember is you'll never get it if you don't try. So you have to try to be able to get it right. And on that same vein, or in that same area, is not only do you have to try, is practice makes perfect. You have to be willing to try it, which means most likely there are going to be some times you get it wrong, or you're trying to say the right pronouns and slip and say an old pronoun, but you have to try it and you have to practice it. By practicing it, then it starts to feel more natural when you shift pronouns, and it doesn't feel not necessarily uncomfortable, but so hard, so difficult. So you have to practice. And in practicing, you just have to deal with there are going to be sometimes you get it wrong, and you practice and you do your best. And if you get it wrong, you can always apologize or tell someone you were trying. But it's practicing when no one is looking. And to me, that's the other important thing, is not to be in a situation where you potentially use one set of pronouns in front of someone and another set of pronouns when they aren't around. The way you practice using the correct pronouns, and this happens a lot in clinical work, but I'm sure it happens in so many other areas, from personal conversations to work, is that the way to practice and to get consistent with them is you use the pronouns all the time, no matter if the person is in front of you or not. The last thing is you don't have to understand it to do it. As we said before, it is not about you. So you don't have to even understand all of the ideas, logistics, feelings behind someone's pronoun choice to do it. You don't. Just like you may not understand why all the feelings or thoughts or reasons why someone may wear a hijab. But you respect them when they wear it, and it's their choice. And when it comes to pronouns, you may not understand everything. It's okay. You may not even know someone's story. You may just know what pronouns they prefer. You don't have to know their story. You don't have to fully understand it to do it. There are so many opportunities for us to do better. When you look on social media, like recently LinkedIn and Instagram put a place for pronouns. And a lot of people I know who have been in the D&I, DE&I, all the letters that they use for those, that type of word, you'll notice that they had their pronouns before they naturally came in there. Or you'll even notice on Zooms, they'll have their pronouns up on their Zooms. Is that you don't have to understand it to do it or to respect it. If you know someone's pronouns, just use them. You don't have to understand everything. That just is. You just use it. Just like I don't have to understand everything about your name, why you have it, who it came from, how they decide to pronounce it that way. You tell me your name and how to pronounce it, and that's how I do it. That's how I'm supposed to do it. That's what I got for you. So thanks so much for coming in. Quick recap. If you know someone that needs this, please tag them. If you know someone that would benefit or enjoy this, please share. Sharing is caring. The last thing is, can you do me a favor? If you're watching it later, it's no worries. Just put hashtag replay in the comments and let me know. If you're here, let me know where you're watching from. I would just love to know and say hello to all of you out there in virtual Facebook and YouTube land. We're going to do a quick recap, then we're going to get out of here and get you to your Tuesday night. So we're talking about, it's Pride Month. So we're talking about Pride Month and 5 things to remember about pronouns. And as I said before, we're talking about this because this comes up all the time. And I've even seen it when I'm in teams working as a psychiatrist in the hospital or in clinic. I've also seen it in my personal life, from seeing it on LinkedIn to even recently during the Sam Smith ride on Peloton. And Dr. Brooke is a fellow Pelotoner. So thank you for coming, Dr. Brooke. So the quick recap is, number one, it is not about you. It's not about you. It's not about how you feel. It's not about if it's comfortable. If it's comfortable, it's not about, do you feel like there should be all these pronouns? It's not about you. It's about the person and how they want to be they want to be identified and regarded and addressed. It's about them. It's not about you. And you know what? Pronouns matter. Black Lives Matter and pronouns matter. They are part of someone's identity, just like their name or the name they choose to be called. Because that comes up in issues sometimes with these pronouns too, is that they matter because they show that you understand someone, you see someone, and you respect them, and you respect what they want to be called and regarded. So it's very important that you use them because they do matter. Um, ooh, I'll do better, Dr. Brooke. I'm not out here long. I'm going to do better with the sunscreen. I'm trying to think if one of my face products have it on. I can't remember, but I'm in the shade. I'll hurry up and get inside since one of my favorite dermatologists just told me to get my life together. The next thing is you'll never get it if you don't try. You have to try. And honestly, you may try. You may not get it right. It's okay if you don't get it right, but you have to try. The more you try, the better you're going to get at it because practice makes perfect. We have to consistently try to use these appropriate pronouns. And the more we use them and the more comfortable we get with using them different ways, the more natural it will be to use pronouns in ways that are not all heteronormative. Okay? But if we do not try, you're not going to get it. You're not, because practice makes perfect. And the other thing about practicing making perfect is you have to practice whether or not that person is in front of you or not. There are plenty of times we're in environments and you know someone's pronouns, and the natural thing, because it's what you've been taught and how you've learned, is to use the other pronouns. An example would be, I remember I was working inpatient, and there was a patient who was transgender. And naturally, their government names were still the same. I was working with kids. And part of the staff wanted to use their biological birth gender in reference to them and their pronouns whenever we were rounding or discussing the patient. As of which then myself and some other staff members had to remind them that if this is someone's pronouns, you have to use them all the time. And that's the only way to get comfortable with it and also to get the practice in, because it's similar to when we talk about allyship and creating safe spaces and respecting people and working to understand them and be empathic and compassionate. It's also creating safe spaces and speaking up for them in a room when they're not in the room. So if you know someone wants a certain set of pronouns or they identify a certain type of way, that's how you treat them when they are and are not in the room. And it also helps the people around you be consistent and respect that person's wishes and identity. And the last thing was, you don't have to understand it to do it. You don't have to even know why they want certain pronouns, because remember, first thing is it's not about you, it is about them. So if they want they and their, or they want he and him, or they want she and her, it doesn't matter why initially. You just respect their wishes and use the appropriate pronouns. Everyone you're going to run into, you're not going to know their whole story. And it's not their job to tell all of us their entire life story and everything. That's not on them. It's like if I tell you my name is Ericka. It's not Ericka, it's Ericka. Simple, spelled Ericka. You don't need to know the story that my parents named me after Ericka on the soap operas. Is that necessary for you to call me Ericka? No, it's not necessary. So if you know someone's pronouns, or you're still getting used to this new world of gender, and I say new because I feel like it's an awakening, not new as far as it didn't exist. It's just things existed and we didn't talk about them. And now we're starting to talk about them. So you don't have to understand it to do it, because it's not about us. It's not about you. It's about other people, their feelings, what's important to them, their identity, and helping them feel seen And the other thing is helping them feel safe. When we respect someone's pronouns, it helps create a space of safety. And that's very important. So that's what I got for you tonight. Thanks so much for coming. Again, I am your host, Dr. Ericka, Harvard-trained double board certified psychiatrist and integrative lifestyle coach. I am passionate about helping people be better, do better, and live better. I do that through my adult telepsychiatry, my books, my speaking, and my new podcast, Better with Dr. Ericka. I'd love for you to check it out. I do all of these things to help put you back in your life. And guess what? This is my last day of live streaming for the week. As you know, I went back to a new schedule, which is with this new schedule, I just come on Tuesday nights at 7 Eastern on YouTube and Facebook. That's where you can find me Tuesday nights. And then the rest of the nights, I may pop up periodically on IG Live or something. But you can always catch me on my podcast at Better with Dr. Ericka. So you can go to betterthepodcast.com or you can go to Apple or Spotify and check it out. My new episode, I'm so excited about it. I have actually some new things in it. So I want to tell you about it real quick before I let you go. Is that it is called Living Your Dreams in the Midst of a Pandemic. My special guest is my good friend Azizi Blissett. I highly recommend this because it gives practical tools of ways to not only live your dreams, reach your goals, no matter what the adversity is. So if it's a time that things are going well or a time that you're struggling, this helps you still move forward and take your hand off that pause button that feels like it's been going on for this last year. There's some new segments and some really new things in it. So I would love for you to check it out. And the other thing is, if you listen on Apple Podcasts, if you could do me a favor, if you can rate and review, that helps the positioning of my podcast. So I'd love that. And if you can subscribe and follow no matter where you listen to me at. So that's what I got for you tonight. I'm really excited about my podcast for next week and Growth Group with Dr. Ericka. I want to give you your usual homework, which is make sure that you call at least one person and tell them you love them. I'm sure they will love you. And you probably will get an I love you back, which is a great thing. The next thing is just take care of yourself. Continue to be safe. I appreciate you spending time with me. There's so many things you could be doing tonight, and you spent a little time with me. As you notice, there's just a little noise in the background, but we are making it work. But I'm going to hop off because Dr. Brooke talked about me for not having on my sunscreen. So I guess I better hop out so I can go indoors or put on sunscreen. But thanks again for coming. Please share this. There are plenty of people I'm sure that could use this message, especially our older people we know. But thanks again. Have a good night.